Hi, I'm Chelsea from Bezla. Hotel guests complain because their needs or expectations are not met. Few dissatisfied guests actually voice their complaints to service staff. Most suffer in silence. Some guests will not complain directly but will show by their actions that they are displeased. Some of the warning signs of guest dissatisfaction include asking a server to remove a beverage or menu item from the table soon after it is served, not eating or drinking the item, or simply moving food around on their plate, covering the plate with their napkin, being rude for no apparent reason, or looking around for their server. It is critical for the server to investigate if he or she observes any of these behaviors, since the guest will leave dissatisfied if the server fails to turn the situation around. Resolving guest complaints begins with understanding why guests complain. Fundamental to successfully resolving guest complaints is having the right attitude. With the right attitude, staff members can usually resolve complaints quickly. But if a staff member ignores a guest's dissatisfaction, retreats behind company policies, takes the complaint personally, blames the guest or other staff members, argues with or belittles the guest, makes the guest feel as if he or she was wrong to complain, or discusses the complaint so that other guests or servers can hear, the staff member will only further upset the guest. A fundamental rule staff members must remember is that the guest is always right. While some operations have modified this rule to say the guest may not always be right, but the guest is always the guest, the message is the same. Guests want their complaints to be handled rapidly, fairly, and professionally. A complaint should never be ignored or allowed to fester. Rapid resolution of a complaint is in everyone's best interest. The guest wants someone to salvage his or her dining experience as soon as possible, and the operation wants to make sure the guest does not leave dissatisfied, because a dissatisfied guest will likely tell others about the problem and may never return. Approaches to dealing with guest complaints should include 4 steps. 1. Calmly and patiently listen and empathize. 2. Apologize and commit yourself to solving the problem and satisfying the guest. 3. Identify a mutually acceptable solution. 4. Check back to determine if the complaint truly has been resolved. Listen and empathize. By calmly and patiently listening and empathizing, staff members can show courtesy and respect to complaining guests and prevent situations from spiraling out of control. Treating an agitated or angry guest with calmness and patience can be difficult, but it often quiets the guest, which is a necessary first step if the server is to learn about the reason for the complaint in detail. Listening is the most important and most frequently ignored component of the communication process. When a staff member listens with sensitivity, the guest's feelings and concerns usually will surface in such a way that a solution can be identified. Servers should attempt to maintain eye contact with the guest while listening and refrain from interrupting. To be certain that he or she understands the causes of the complaint, it's a good idea for the server to repeat or rephrase the complaint back to the guest calmly and professionally. Apologize and commit yourself to solving the problem. Apologizing is not necessarily the same as accepting blame or passing the blame to another staff member. Though when blame clearly belongs to the operation, the staff member should acknowledge that. A staff member can be sorry that an event occurred or that circumstances are what they are, even if the staff member had nothing to do with the event or the circumstances. An apology simply is an agreement that the guest's complaint or feelings have merit, and it helps to reduce the guest's feelings of frustration and anger. But a staff member should never assume that an apology by itself will satisfy a guest. After apologizing, the staff member should accept the responsibility for the problem's resolution, regardless of who is at fault. The staff member must become the guest's advocate in fixing the problem. Accepting responsibility means giving complete and undivided attention to resolving the complaint. This sense of urgency will communicate to the complaining guest that the problem is going to be taken care of quickly. Many operations empower their servers to resolve complaints on the spot and give guests compensation for their trouble, such as a complimentary meal or a free beverage or dessert. Other operations still require managers to become involved. When guests become extremely angry or violent, managers should always intervene directly, but most complaints can be solved by empowered service staff. Identify a mutually acceptable solution. Once the staff member has listened to the complaint and apologized for the problem, the staff member and guest must identify a mutually acceptable solution. Some managers train staff members to simply ask the guest to suggest a way to resolve the complaint. Most guests respond reasonably. Other managers train staff members to offer guests alternatives or options. In any case, it is essential that the solution be mutually acceptable, one in which everyone wins. When a complaint is handled to the satisfaction of all involved, the complainer may be transformed into a loyal guest. Check back and follow up. The final step in resolving a guest complaint is to check back to determine whether the complaint has truly been resolved. Depending on the situation, another apology might be in order, if for no other reason than to acknowledge the operation's failure to meet the guest's expectations on the first try. Some operations also follow up a day or so later with a letter or telephone call. This strongly demonstrates that the operation and its staff are genuinely committed to continuous quality improvement. If Bezla could be a service for your hotel marketing, call us at 888-999-8086 or visit us at bezla.com.